Hello, my beautiful people. Welcome to our channel. I'm Woven, and on this channel, we talk all things lifestyle, travel, finance, and sometimes tradition. And today, we're talking finance. We're looking at should one buy a car first or a house first. Now, before we dive right into it, please do know that this video in no way constitutes that financial advice. And if you require financial advice, please contact someone that is registered with the regulator. And if you're in Namibia, that will be NAMFISA. Now, welcome to adulthood, where we're constantly faced with having to make decisions between this or the other or both because of our limited financial means. Now, you can buy both at the same time if your finances allow. But today we're looking at obviously those that would have to make a choice. And often what you would hear is buy a house first, because generally a car is a depreciating asset and a house appreciates in value. So naturally it will only make sense to buy a house first. So make sure to stick around, because at the end of the video, I will also be giving you some practical examples in terms of how much a car would cost, what your monthly payment would be about, what you would need to be earning to qualify plus minus for that house, and also the interest you would have been paying within that duration. I'll also be sharing the same for your house, how much you would need to qualify for duration, interest, and the like. So make sure you stick around. However, this decision is quite personal, right? So it depends on your personal circumstances that are going to inform whether you're going to buy a car or a house first. So there is no right or wrong answer, and there is no one size fits all, right? However, there are a couple of factors that you would want to consider when having to make this choice. Number one, we look at your why. Why do you want to buy either a car or a house? If you look at a car, your why could be, I just need to move from point A to point B, right? I need to get to and from work. So Polo, TSI, or Corolla would be sufficient. You would not necessarily need a Mercedes-Benz or a BMW. Or if you then decide you want to buy a house, one of your whys, a why could be, no, I have a family and I need to settle down, because moving from one rental property is just an inconvenience. Or your why could be, no, I'm just looking at getting into the property market, not necessarily something that I need to settle down on. So that why would inform as to whether to buy a car first or to buy a house first. Another factor that you want to consider is your disposable income. How much do I take home, right? Because if you buy a car, if you buy a house, it will have an impact on your buying power, right? This is just something that you need to be aware of. If you buy the one or the other, it will have an impact on the buying power. Now, if you are in the process of trying to get a car, buying a house, you want to save, or generally just invest, and you need some guidance, feel free to reach out to me. Here's my email address. It's woven@outlook.com, and we could see how we can look at your personal circumstances and also possibly how we could invest and save your money optimally. Now that you know your why, you are very much aware of your disposable income. Another factor you want to look at is the duration. If you are financing both the car, the house, if you're going to finance both of them with the bank, there's a duration, right? For a car, the bank gives you about 5 years to settle your car loan. And if it's a house, the bank gives you about 20 years. If you're in Namibia and you're a first time home buyer, you no longer need to have a deposit for your house. However, for your car, you would still need to have a deposit. Now, if you look at duration, you don't understand and you decide car first, here are some wins. Because the duration is about 5 years, you could then decide I'm going to buy a car first, so that in the next 5 years, I would have paid this car off. And I would be having a car of my own, which I can then further decide to drive for another 3, 4, 5 years, depending on the condition. And within that, I actually have a bit more disposable income, right? Because after I've paid it off and I no longer have the car loan, I have more money in my pocket. That means I could actually qualify for a house that's much more desirable and probably even in a better location or the location that I want, right? That's the car. However, you do need to be aware that it is a car depreciates, right? Also, if you decide to buy a car first, you just need to be aware that this will have an impact on your buying power for your house. So this means you could possibly impact your qualifying amount for your house. You could qualify for less. Now, this is not necessarily a bad thing. I will give you my own example. When I eventually decided I'm buying a house, I chose the bank that gave me the least qualifying amount. So I shopped around, and it's very important that you shop around. I shopped around a couple of banks, and there were banks that gave me quite decent money, right? But I personally decided I'm going to go with a bank that gave me the least amount possible. And this was a personal decision, right? And I made that decision so that one, I don't buy too much house, but also I could comfortably pay off this specific home loan. So qualifying for a less amount, sometimes it's not always that you must take the highest amount that you're qualifying for. And it also protects you when, say for instance, in COVID time, right? A lot of people that bought property during COVID, the interest rates kept dropping. The prices kept dropping. So even your premiums for your house were much lower. But then what we saw is out of COVID, everything quickly started going up, and suddenly affordability became an issue for some people, right? So having or getting the loan with a bank that qualifies you the least is not necessarily always a bad thing. But again, it depends on your personal circumstances. I'm just giving you factors that you must or that you ought to consider when you're making this decision. So for your car, one, you would have paid it off and there's more disposable income. However, you are going to impact your buying power should you want a house in and around that period. Now, if you decide, no, I'm going to buy a house first, the same applies. Purchasing power for your car is impacted. However, the way often how mortgage works is when they are structuring your mortgage, they leave a bit of room, depending on how much you earn, for you to be able to, afford some sort of car financing. So that's how a mortgage is structured. Because again, remember, you are paying this off over a period of 20 years. So even your repayment amount is going to be much lower than that of a car. I will give you guys an example of what a car repayments would look like over a period of 5 years, and an example of a house over a period of 20 years, just so that you can see the difference, right? So one, you are impacting the buying power of your car. But here, if you decide you're buying a home first, you actually get to lock in the property price, right? Because property appreciates. So today's price is not necessarily going to be the same price 5 years from now. And especially in the Namibian market, that price would have increased. So you stand to get the benefit of locking in that price now. But also, you then have equity, ownership. Remember, a house is an asset, so you have equity, you have an asset to your name. And if you have a family, that means you're settling down. People, moving can be a nightmare. So you're building memories in this house. Everyone, there's safety to it because you own the property. Okay, so let us look at practical examples. We are looking at 1 million, and I've taken $1 million house, $1 million car. And within the Namibian jurisdiction, we'll look at a house first. I just have my numbers here. I'll put them on the screen as well. For a $1 million car, again, these are illustrative figures, and your bank, when you do your application, they will give you exactly how much it is that you will be paying, but it's most likely going to be in and around these figures. So, depending on one, the mortgage rate at that point in time, the prime rate, repo rate, all this in that point in time, the bank will then inform you. So for now, we're looking at the repo rate, August 2025, the prime rate, August 2025, the mortgage rate, 2025. So if we look at a $1 million house, the minimum monthly income you would need plus minus 39,497. That is what you would need for $1 million house. And your monthly payments, repayments will be 10,666. And this is for a period of 240 months. What you would have paid in interest on 1 million is 1,559,431 Namibian dollars. So in total, at the end of 20 years, what was once 1 million, you would have paid or repaid a total of 2.559 million on a house. Now that is us looking at a mortgage rate of 11.5. Now let's look at a car. The car we took prime August 2025. Prime is at 10.5. The prime rate is lower than the mortgage rate. So with the banks, you can also negotiate depending on your credit standing, your credit score. You can negotiate with the bank to say, give me prime less, but here we looked at prime. Now, because you are required to have a 10% deposit on your car, we then have a loan amount of 900,000 over a period of 5 years, i.e. 60 months, yeah? And your monthly repayment is 19,344. Can you see the monthly repayment on the house was just 10,000. Now on the car, it's 19,344 because again the duration is much shorter. Your net income required is 77,000. What am I missing? 77,000? So your monthly repayments will be 19,344 Namibian dollars, and the total interest paid would be 260,670. So can you see, even if I had to take this over a period of 20 years, I would say 260 times 4, it still doesn't amount to 1.5 million. But that's because the rate at which you're borrowing is different, right? So total repayment on your $900,000 loan is 1,160,670 Namibian dollars. So can you see, these are all factors that you need to consider. One, your why is not the same as the next person's, your disposable income. Then you need to look at the duration. And then once you look at all those three factors, you also then need to look at, if you purchase a car first, it will impact your buying power when it comes to a house. But there are ups on purchasing a car as much as there are downs. Then it's also the same for a house. If you purchase a house, you might not necessarily be able to afford the car you want, so that might also have to take a backseat. So I hope this video was helpful. And again, if you do need assistance with just talking through your finances, managing your finances, if you're about to buy a car or a house and you just need assistance in making that decision, do feel free to reach out to me. Here is my email address. It's woven@outlook.com. And if you've made it till the end and you have not subscribed yet, please take this time to subscribe. From me, Woven, I'll see you next time.